What is up, my dudes? We've got the Corporate Esports Association Dota 2 Spring 2019 tournament going on. Today we've got Facebook mid on Newsfeed, representing Facebook, against FishingBoatV2, representing Amazon. So I am playing in this game as the captain on the Facebook team. So this game's going to be a little bit biased, but I'll try and not be as biased. I do know the outcome of the game, but I'll try not to spoil it as well. And I guess like for the drafting phase, I'll like try and explain what my thought process is. This game is from like almost a month ago now. I've been putting it off because I don't like casting my own games, so it's like always a little bit awkward, but this is one of the last games I've left to cast from the replay vault since the replay vault disappeared. So this is pretty exciting. So I opened with Bounty Hunter, Oracle, and I think Shadow Shaman is going to be my next ban. Just three like really easy options to ban in the current meta, or at least like when this game was being played. And they're going to ban Enigma. It's just a pretty safe ban. We have the first pick, so it's pretty easy for them to get Enigma. Another thing I've noticed is FishingBoatV2 always picks second pick. They won the coin flip and then picked second pick, so their mid is always going to have an advantage over our own, which puts us in a pretty sticky situation. They also banned Razor because Razor is really great as a first pick. I guess, like the first pick of the first pick team. He's pretty flexible, so he can go in every lane, and we've been doing that a lot in our drafts in the past.
Only 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Hurry, hurry!
Actually taking quite some time on this one. Maybe not expecting Shadow Shaman ban. I can't remember. Like I said, this game was a month ago, so I don't exactly remember like everything that happened in this game. Kind of seems like they wanted to go for Shadow Shaman first. It's a pretty strong pickup.
Radiant team pick.
And they banned Pangali. We actually don't have a Pangali player on our team, so we go for first pick Nyx. I think this hero is like super good right now. It's pretty difficult to go wrong. The one downside of Nyx is he doesn't do quite as much damage as the other position 4s, but you make up for it by having Spike Carapace, and it really severely limits the draft from the other team. You can't pick any like Radiance heroes. You can't pick Ember Spirit or like anyone with those like uncontrollable damage skills.
5 seconds remain.
So as the first pick, it's pretty strong because it just limits the choices from the other side.
Dire team pick.
So they open with Lich, who's not a hero you see too often. He was really popular when he first got reworked. I feel like he's fallen off a little bit, but still a really strong hero. You just press like R, and then everyone has to run away. It's kind of scary to go into the Chain Frost. Also, the physical damage reduction is pretty sick. 60% damage reduction from physical attacks is pretty nice, and also severely limits our drafting potential here.
Radiant team are now picking.
And they also open with Clinks. This is pretty scary for us, right? Because, I mean, Nyx doesn't really do that well with the Clinks. It's pretty hard to land the Impale on him, and you can't really reflect the Burning Army with the Spike Carapace. It doesn't stun the main Clinks. Unlike some other interactions, for example with Mars, if you like walk into the spears inside the Arena of Blood, he gets stunned. So we open with Nyx and Leshrac because, I mean, this is a pretty strong lane for us. There's a double stun lane. The only downside is there's no reliable stun, so Nyx is going to have to set up the stuns for the Leshrac. So this is going to be pretty tricky. But the other thing is Leshrac can be run in other lanes. We kind of wanted him to run the off lane, but we picked him as a flex pick to run him in the off lane with the Nyx. But he can also go mid. is the benefit, and maybe safe lane as well. So I know Illidan does that, but it's mixed results. It's definitely good if you have a reliable stun setup. So they're gonna ban the Spectre, because I'm not actually sure why they banned the Spectre. I was a bit confused by that. So we banned the Lifestealer and the Jug here because any other hero would do pretty well against these two. It's pretty hard to get the stun on the Jug or the Lifestealer because they can always react to the Spike Carapace. The cast time is not the Spike Carapace, sorry, the Impale. Because the cast time is like super long. Maybe one thing you can do is bait it out. So maybe we're a little bit aggressive on the bans here. Maybe we should have banned like an offlaner or something. The other thing is that Eason has played Clinks on the offlane in the past. So normally I feel like Clinks goes mid for the most part. You want that, get that early burning army. They picked the Drow Ranger. At this point we're like kind of like fuck a little bit. Drow has a really high win rate in this patch. She's pretty good. She's a pretty good hero, and Clinks is going to get all that juicy attack speed, so he's not going to be as useless outside of the Frenzy Strafe, I think it's called. So we get I pick Winter Wyvern for myself. It's pretty nice to have the Cold Embrace against this overwhelming physical damage that's coming out. The only problem is sometimes you Cold Embrace and then you end up dying to the Burning Army afterwards anyway. So I feel like it's kind of the right approach for us. Some nice defensive support. We can also try and get the Drow to turn on the Clinks, or the other way around. But the big problem with getting the Clinks to turn on someone is you can still toggle off the Searing Arrows during the Winter's Curse. It doesn't stop you from interacting with your abilities if they don't like have cast animations. Like you can turn toggles off, you can backpack your items as well. It's like another big thing that can really counter the Winter's Curse. So we've seen Eason play Clinks offlane, so we're kind of thinking it's an offlane Clinks, but with the Drow Ranger, it's kind of greedy. They have the Clinks and the Drow, and they have a Sand King. So at this point, we're kind of convinced that the Sand King is going to be the offlane, actually, is that what happened? It could be a position for Sand King as well. Actually, yeah, I think our thoughts were as a position for Sand King, but the thing is, like, the way I thought about this draft at this point was I thought they were going to go for a Death Ball, because you just need to get like a big aura builder, like Underlord or Tide, and then just group up around them, push with the Clinks and the Drow, and have your offlaner tank in front of you. So like at this point we were like kind of thinking it was going to be Clinks mid. The problem that our draft currently has is you've got this Lich Sand King who deal a ton of magic damage, and then you got Clinks and Drow who deal a ton of physical damage. We don't really have anyone. If Leshrac goes offlane, he's not going to buy a pipe anytime soon, and that means we're going to probably have to put Leshrac in mid. But then they have the last pick to counter that, so they can be really tough matchups for Leshrac. So we pick Sven, and Sven's going to be our carry, just for the Warcry, to mitigate some of the physical damage. But he's also kind of flexed. We could put him in the offlane as well. In retrospect, we probably should have. It would have made the game a lot easier. Because then, if you're position 1 Sven, you want to max cleave first, and then probably Warcry second. And then Stormbolt last. But if you're an offlane Sven, you want to max Warcry first, and then stun, and then cleave. If you're playing like a carry Sven, you're gonna have Warcry a bit later than the offlane Sven normally would. They banned Naga Siren, probably thinking that the Sven's also gonna be the offlaner, and we go for I think an Underlord ban or a Tidehunter ban.
10 seconds to pick.
One of the two.
5 seconds. Hurry.
But again, so I was
hurry.
kind of thinking that they were going to go into this death ball strategy and have a big tanky offlaner to group around. So we banned, I can't remember, it was either the Tide or the Underlord, and then we picked Viper right afterwards to use the Nether Toxin to be able to cancel the passive. So the passive from Tide Hunter which will stop him from getting out of chain stuns, and the passive from Underlord is like pretty annoying as well. Not for our team in particular. So I think we ban the Underlord here. The other thing that's still open about this draft is like the Sand King can be position 3 as well. It's a little bit less common these days. So like FishingBoatV2, their draft is pretty solid. So we banned the Tide Hunter, and we're kind of expecting them to pick Underlord at this point. And we picked the Viper to kind of counter it a little bit.
Ten seconds to pick. 5 seconds.
But we're just gonna run down the timer because why not? Yeah, so go with Viper. So we're gonna have Sven in the safe lane, the Shrek in the off lane with the Nyx, and the Viper in the mid. And Viper wins most mid matchups, so even though we're potentially gonna have a disadvantage here, we've covered like most of our bases.
Only 10 seconds. 5 seconds remain.
And they go with Morphling, and at this point, we're like, fuck. We're really screwed against the Morphling. We don't have any burst damage, like, Leshrac is mostly sustained damage, Viper is mostly sustained damage, and Sven is mostly physical burst, which Morphling doesn't really care about. He's got like 50 armor most of the game. So we're looking at this Morphling pick, it's the last pick Morphling, and we're just screwed. So we kind of need to win the lanes really hard in this game. That's kind of our way in. Have the Leshrac and Nyx put a lot of pressure on the Drow Ranger. And it's going to be Sven and Sand King in the offlane against the Sven. That's pretty hard for the Sven. You might have to go like more points in the Warcry early on. But the Warcry doesn't scale that well anymore. It scales with your levels now, with your strength, instead of being flat. So it's not the best against Clinks anymore. But let's hop into the game. Let's introduce the teams as well. We've got Maybe plus CTY on the Viper, me, Vintage on the Winter Wyvern, ABC on the Nyx Assassin, GH on the Leshrac, and Rockhawk on the Sven, representing Team Facebook Middle Newsfeed. And on Amazon Prime Career, we've got Chinese guy on the Lich. Sometimes when we touch on the Drow Ranger, another Chinese guy on the Sand King, Eason on the Clinks, and third Chinese guy on the Morphling. So, yeah, I mean, they should really just tell me how to pronounce their names or what they want me to call them. But I'm just going to refer to them as Chinese guy 1, 2, and 3, or just by their hero names this game. So yeah, Sand King and Clinks, this is a pretty scary offlane. Clinks can always just orb walk with the Searing Arrows, and it's a melee core against a Sven, against the Clinks, which is like pretty good for the Clinks. This lane's pretty tough for us, but top is much better, right? It's a Lich and a Drow. So there's just a lot of damage coming out of the Amazon Fishing Boats team. Pretty much throughout the entire game. Morphling as well. It's gonna absolutely crush this Viper in lane. So we're kind of like in this situation right now where all three lanes are probably going to go pretty poorly for us. Top probably has the best bet, but it's all predicated on Nyx hitting his Impales, which is, again, not that simple. But he's got a lot of mangoes and a lot of HP regen to keep trying.
We have first blood.
Actually, top, we get a first blood bot lane. We get a first blood on the Sand King. The Clinks ends up killing the Svens, which is actually really bad for us because now he can just go for fast boots and be able to run away from us. I'm not a very fast hero, 280. Sven is pretty decently fast, but if he's got a boots disadvantage, it's really bad. Yeah, I'm forced to use my salve already as well.
You almost
Better than that.
So it's going to be the double stun coming out from Nyx and Lesh, but it's going to be pretty hard to get in range. Nyx is just going to harass the Drow a little bit, but not going to go for a stun yet. Maybe waiting on level 2. And meanwhile, this Viper's going to have a really tough time against Morphling. He's just getting out harassed, and Morphling doesn't even need any regen once he hits level 3. Top lane, the Split Earth will miss. Didn't get the Impale set up. Impale's out now, but it's the Split Earth's on cooldown. You really need the Nyx Assassin to Impale first. The Lesh stun is way harder to hit than the Nyx stun, unless you're doing it from Fog, but the cast range isn't that big, so you need to really sneak around. And Lesh is the core in this lane, so most of the time he's going to be showing himself and not hiding in the trees. It's going to be up to the Nyx to set it up. So bot's actually going pretty well for us. We're kind of harassing them out with like the Arctic Burn and the Splinter Blast spam. But Arctic Burn with a 50-second cooldown, you gotta make a lot happen. Make sure you hit them a couple times. It does take away about a third of their health though. And Clink doesn't have that much regen. He's also only got 480 HP, so it's pretty squishy. And the Sand King's also completely out of regen as well. So this lane is like actually doing pretty well. 12 and 3 on the Sven and 5 and 0 on the Clinks. But this mid lane is the real disaster here. The Viper kind of already forced to do some shenanigans. Drops another Toxin, but it's not really gonna do much. Maybe the Nyx is gonna go for another Impale. Another Arctic Burn comes out with a Splinter Blast. Nice. Nyx gets the Spike Carapace and Impale, but Lesh not in range to get a stun, so he isn't gonna be able to get a follow-up. Bit of miscommunication there from the Lesh. Nyx has mana for another stun if he wants to go for it. He goes through the trees, and Edict goes out, but it's only a level 1 Edict. So the lanes for Facebook actually going pretty well this game so far. Viper is actually doing okay. I thought like he would get crushed pretty hard, but he also brought a lot of regen to the lane, so being able to outlast the Morphling a little bit. And once Morph is level 3 now, so this is level 4. The 2 points in the attribute shift makes it really hard to get any like good damage on him now. But pretty quiet game overall. This Nyx Lesh lane not being as explosive as intended. There's DD at bot as well, but no one scouts it out. And yeah, Morph just gets a solo kill on the Viper. There's not much that the Viper can do at this point. It's pretty tough. Morph already level 5. So top lane, looks like Impale came out but didn't hit anyone, so the Split Earth also not coming out.
Radiant structures
And also 2 points in the Split Earth instead of second point in the Edict. The Edict at level 1 is really bad now. It got nerfed pretty hard. It went from 9 damage to
The drow have won the
11
last
damage to
battle.
8. So Nyx is going to go down here. Very unfortunate for him. And especially as the bounty runes come up. GH not going for the bounty runes, but looks like Nyx will be able to get both. And it's going to be 2 bot. Oh no, 2 for 2 overall.
Dire's middle
The Viper's
tower
in pretty
taking
deep,
damage.
but the Morphling just went to Shrine Up, so it's going to be okay. Still noticing the double damage at
Dire's
bot.
middle tower is being attacked.
Let's just come mid now. Probably just gonna smoke some XP. There's a smoke out from the Morph and the Sand King, so they can definitely kill this Viper. He's not that tanky yet. DD gonna get picked up by the Sand King now. See if his smoke pops. We'll see if he finds the Viper. He finds the Viper, but I think the Sand King
Dire's
might have
top tower
to.
is under siege.
Actually, he can definitely take on the Viper right now. The Winter Wyvern heading over. Arctic Burn comes out, but the Sand King won't chase up the hill.
Dire's top tower
The
is
Split
being
Earth
attacked.
misses again on the Drow. I think she dodged the Impale as well, so only one Split Earth so far landing on GH, so probably not practicing that hero enough. And meanwhile, the Sand King with a haste and double damage are just styling a little bit, getting some harass on. And the Sven's getting low. This is when it gets pretty tough for the Sven, when he gets the 3rd point in Searing Arrows, which is pretty much going to be after this creep, I believe. It's going to be pretty hard for the Sven to lane here now. And he's also going for 2 points in the Stormhammer, which means he won't be able to catch up if he starts falling behind. He can't just go to the jungle and recover. So the Stormbolt and the Splinter Blast going to come out onto the Clinks, but it's going to be pretty hard to take him out. The Sand King comes in, and they're just going to push the Clinks back. He doesn't have Death Pact anymore. The hero got changed too much, so he's going to have to leave. He has no more regen, but the Sow from the Sand King comes in as well. Another Split Earth comes out, but it completely misses. And a Fear on GH, and he's gonna be in a bit of trouble. He's gonna make it out, at least. 202 from the Nyx Assassin as well. I think it's pretty good this game. There's not many high int heroes for the another Split Earth miss after the 2-man Impale. The Shrek really needs to wait for the Nyx to set up for him. And also a pointed Lightning Storm early on, very uncommon in the offlane. You normally see like 1, 4, 2, 4, 0 in the offlane. Just max that Edict first, because Edict is like super strong if you get early points in it, and it kind of just falls off after a while. This top lane is a bit of a disaster for Facebook. The other 2 lanes aren't going too poorly. The Viper is doing actually okay this lane. 38 last hit. Some of them are probably jungle creeps at this point, because you just walk over to the
Dire's
medium
middle
camp
tower
and
taking damage.
nether tox in it. He's almost got 8 tusk, only 600 gold away. Winter Weapon on the prowl now. And there's only a 1k, less than a 1k gold advantage at 8 minutes in. So this game didn't go as badly as I thought it was. I felt like we were doing pretty poorly this game at this point. That's because Sven was being pressured pretty hard. He doesn't know where to farm. Didn't even has 3 points in the Stormham, which I think is a big mistake for carry Svens. And we really needed the Warcry against the Clinks as well. Would have helped us fight him earlier on. But now the Burning Army is available. It's still going to be pretty tough to kill the Sven with the Burning Army, but the Winter Wyvern's going to go down pretty fast. Sand King just looking for something. He's gone 2-0-1, which is also kind of interesting. The Sandstorm is super annoying, and that's what you normally see, even if you're this position 4 Sand King.
Radiant's middle tower is being
He
attacked.
definitely max out the stun first, because that's his best skill. But the Sandstorm is it's pretty
Radiant's middle
close
tower is taking
in
damage.
power level. 100 damage per second, 95 damage per second, something crazy like that. So Nick's gonna take the XP in mid now, but he's up against a level 8 Morphling, which is super scary for him. He gets the Impale on the Morphling, but the Morphling could just turn around and kill him. But he's also got the Spike Carapace. If he can block the Adaptive Strike, that'd be pretty sick, because Morphling doesn't have a whole lot of HP. Alright, so Nick's Sven in a little bit of trouble right now, but I have to give my life away for the most part to try and get the Sven out of there. But a nice two-man storm bolt from the Sven gets both of them. It's still only 1 point in the edict, so this is pretty problematic actually, because now the Lesh can't pressure this tower while the Drow's gone. This was not the skill build from the Leshrac. Gotta be 3 for 1 bounty runes. I managed to pick up one. I have to put myself in a lot of danger for it. So the Impale comes out onto the Lich, managed to reflect the adaptive strike, which is what I was talking about. He's actually really low now. If he saved the Impale, he could have gotten the kill, but it's not something I expect. Split Earth onto the Morphling. All 5 heroes from Facebook are here now, and the Morphling, he's out of strength to mob, so he might actually go down here, and he actually will. No. But a 5-man rotation for just the Morphling. Everyone else from Amazon Fishing Boat is here now as well, so it's going to be a big 5v5. 10 minutes into the game in this mid lane, not something you see too commonly. But looks like both teams are going to try and disengage. We're going to try and push the tower because we've got the catapult, but it's going to be really tough. We're just trying to keep the catapult alive for as long as possible. We also use an aggressive fort for this, just to keep the catapult alive a little bit longer. It also buys time for the next creep wave to come in, so as long as we keep the catapult alive, it's fine. But Morphling's back, and it's time to run. And meanwhile, Sven managed to see TP down earlier, so he's farming away at the bot lane. Still only 2 points in cleave. And it's going to be Viper and Sven at the top of the net worth chart, but Drow's level 6, so it's time to hit the jungle for the next 15 minutes, and we'll see how Facebook can try and contest this. Morphling, gotta go for a Linken's first, so not quite that active build that we normally see from Nisha, the early Morbid Mask and then an E-Blade straight away. It's pretty good Morbid Mask game. It's pretty good Linken's game. You got the Viper Strike, which is pretty annoying, the Winter's Curse, the Stormbolt, and the Atos as well. So we're going to go for this Clinks with a smoke. Atos comes out onto the Clinks. We have the Dust. And it looks like he's going to eventually go down. The Viper Strike comes out as well. But yeah, Clinks will eventually go down. It takes 3 heroes. 2 cores come here as well. So a lot of space created by the Clinks. And the Drow just keep farming away. The net worth chart. Drow is at the top of the chart. The Sven is not too far behind. But the Morphling is on the heels of the Sven as well. The Viper's actually doing pretty well for considering he was up against Morphling, and the Clinks and Lesh around the same level, but Clinks can get a lot more done with little farm compared to the Lesh. Just drop the Burning Army and you can output a ton of damage. I don't think the Drought Aura applies to the Burning Army though. Alright, well the Impale misses on the Lich. Very a bit unfortunate there. He's in a lot of trouble. He's gonna go down here. Go for a Winter's Curse. Winter's Curse! So this is when I figured, I actually just learnt then Searing Arrows doesn't even work on Winter's Curse. My teammates were like, oh, that's because he's not a noob and didn't have autocast on. But he had autocast on and it still doesn't work, so that was a big mistake. I wasn't sure if marksmanship worked or not, so I figured I'd go for the Clinks instead. But yeah, it's I wasn't really sure. I think they both don't work against allies. I don't think you can marksmanship deny an ally creep. So my options for Winter's Curse are pretty limited. I have to make sure Morphling is the one attacking, because the other two don't really deal that much damage. Clinks' damage mostly comes from Searing Arrows, plus 60 from the Searing Arrows, and then most of Zhao's damage comes from this marksmanship, which is plus 120. She doesn't really hit that hard even with all this farm. Alright, Atos onto the Zhao. Zhao's certainly going to go down here, Split Earth as well, but the Sand King comes in with the Burning Army to back him up, and looks like we're going to have a pretty successful fight here. And Clinks in a little bit of danger. The Dust comes out, Split Earth hits the Clinks as well, so Facebook finally taking the gold lead. This has been a pretty close game in terms of gold for most of it. Less than 1k gold lead, but we didn't have an advantage until now at all. But even then, it's like pretty unsubstantial. Viper gotta go for a Greaves now. There's pretty normal Viper stuff this game.
Radiant's top tower is under siege.
I knew that was a bad idea. I'm like a little bit too scared to go up the cliff and drop a sentry as well. Sven now level 9. So this is the thing, right? He could have had 1 point in the stun and then 2 in these two. And we really need the level 4 Warcry in this game, because I mean, that's why we picked the Sven, so he could help us help the team out. And the stun, it doesn't scale that well. 1.7 second stun to 2 seconds is like, it's not that substantial. And then the damage is like kind of irrelevant, because we have like kind of enough damage with the Leshrac already, at least in the mid game. So I really would have liked to see Sven go for like 144 at level 9, and then this push would have been so much easier. We just buff up the creeps as well. I don't think it buffs the creeps anymore. It only buffs heroes. So the Drow gonna get chased down. She's gonna go down at the start of this fight. Gets a nice gust off. So the Drow will actually get away here. Gets Winter's cursed, and actually, yeah, he's gonna end up getting away. The Leshrac will go down in the front lane. Waveform forward, the double damage onto the Morphling will make him do a lot of damage, and a really terrible fight for Morphling. Overcommitting on the Drow and still not getting the kill. So an ultra kill for the Morphling, and we're kind of scratching our heads at this point. I thought that was gonna go way better, but we kind of just got overwhelmed. The Burning Army, the Chain Frost, and the Epicenter all came out at the same time. A lot of damage came out. We didn't have any magic mitigation, and this Warcry is still level 1.
Radiant's middle tower is taking damage.
Also, the triple null on the Leshrac is it's a little bit questionable. He's not a mid-lesh, so he should really focus on getting utility items for his team. This is he's normally a mid player, so we put him in the off lane, and I think he's just like not that familiar with the role because he doesn't play Viper, so we put maybe on the Viper this time. So, bit of a change up in our team. It's not really quite working out. So I do manage to save the Viper with the Winter's Curse, but he's still in a little bit of trouble. The Lich will eventually go down, and Morph will be able to get out. So I feel like I did pretty well there. The Sentry is going to spot Nyx's Assassin, and he might be in a bit of trouble here. The Lesh gets caught out instead, and they decide to run on the side of Amazon. Drow is here though, and she's walking into the Sentry range now. Yeah, the Leshrac build is it's not the greatest for offlane Leshrac. I would like to see like maybe another Atos, because we're pretty lacking in reliable catch, and the Yules is way harder to set up than Atos, because you have to actually time the Yules, but with Atos you just go for it, right? Obviously the downside is they can still attack you while you're Atos, but I feel like it would have been way easier to get than the Yules. I guess the Yules does also give you mana regen, which is something that Leshrac desperately needs. Also, only level 2 on the Edict. The Sand King will go down pretty fast in this team fight, but the Chain Frost is out now, bouncing between the Viper and the Leshrac, and the Viper's going to go down to the Burning Army as well.
A vicious double
nice Chain Frost from the Lich, just catching them on the retreat. And this was a really difficult combo for us to go up against. The Burning Army and the Chain Frost. Like, you can't run away from both at the same time unless, at least in that scenario it was pretty hard to. Maybe Lesh could have ran to the left and then Viper run down, but it's still pretty tough. And another pretty bad fight for Facebook, right? They just lost 3 heroes again, I believe. The Viper, just 2 heroes, the Viper and the Winter Wyvern. Also the Sven went down on the side too. Was that a while ago? Maybe that was a while ago. So the Crimson Guard on the Sven as well. I was kind of on the fence about this one. The Crimson Guard is okay. It basically negates Searing Arrows completely. But he was our carry this game, so I was a bit confused why he was going for like, you know, phase boots as well as a little bit odd. I don't think we like really discussed the item choices in this game as the game went on. A lot of interesting decisions were made here, and now it's starting to, you know, accelerate a little bit for FishingBoatV2. 2k gold lead now, so the team has finally taken the gold lead. 2 back-to-back poor fights for Facebook. The 20-minute bounty runes are here though, so we see the Sand King. He goes for a burrow strike, and the Morphling is here now. This is super scary. The Morphling gets stunned up, but he manages to get the Strength Morph off, so it's really hard to take him out. Yeah, he just manages to walk away. The Chain Frost comes out again. Great bounces all around, and 3 down already on the side of Facebook. The Lich will eventually go down. But the Morphling's here now. This is getting pretty scary for them. The Gust comes out again onto the Viper. It looks like everyone's just going to disengage here. Atos onto the Drow Ranger, but there's no Viper Strike left. So the Drow's just going to be able to walk away. Another Stormbolt comes out onto the Drow, but the Sven, he doesn't have any blink. He doesn't have a blink yet. Isn't going to activate God Strength either. I don't think he's going to get this one. And the Viper gets caught out on the side. Maybe... I couldn't buy back. The Lesh could have bought back. And Invis picked up by Sven, but he's still gonna die anyway. So a full team wipe for Amazon FishingBoatV2. And this is really where the snowball starts. They've taken 3 back-to-back team fights successfully, and we kind of just... we've just given away a lot of money in the last 5 minutes. This game is looking pretty rough now. The Morph managed to get a Strength Morph off before, and he actually went back for the E-Blade, so understanding that it's kind of difficult for him to die in this game. And yeah, he just got the Strength Morph off before we managed to chain stun him, and we didn't have enough damage to take him out. And so, it's only gonna get harder as the game goes on. We're in a lot of trouble.
Radiant's middle tower has been
The Nyx's damage is pretty much capped out at this point. He's got the gold talent now. Maybe he can eventually go for an Ags. And we can try and hold high ground, but it's pretty tough. Sven gonna go back for a blink now. I don't know, man. This Crimson Guard, I'm not sold. It's nice for his team because no one else is really gonna buy it, I guess. But maybe we should have put the Lesh in the safe lane if we're gonna play like this, and have the Sven be the support. Because then he could have. Well, again, the skill build is like a bit questionable from the Sven, in my opinion. Just the stun isn't that good. Just don't max out the stun. If the radius went up, I would say it's like very much worth it. But it's just the duration, and the duration only goes up by 0.3. So it's like it's really minimal. Clink's on the hunt for Nyx, but Nyx, he doesn't have Vendetta. He's in a bit of trouble, but looks like he's gonna not make it out. Morphling gonna go for a Skadi now. It's gonna be very difficult to kill once he gets this Skadi. So Sven with a haste. He sees the Morphling farming. Is he gonna go for this? There's 3 heroes approaching from Facebook. The Lesh is kind of far away. The Viper's TPing in, but the Morph, he's just gonna waveform out. Viper showing his hand a little bit. Maybe should have. I think that Morph would have gotten out for sure. That's pretty tough. Maybe like if the Sven went for a stun and then a Winter's Curse and then Atos, Leshrac could have arrived in time for a follow-up Split Earth. But yeah, I mean that's super tough. So Leshrac gonna go for a Hood now. Someone on the team needs to buy the pipe, and we don't really have any pipe buyers. Maybe Viper could have. He just finished up his Greaves. Nyx gets Burrow Striked up. Blink forward from the Sven onto the Drow Ranger. She gets Split Earth. She's gonna go down pretty quickly here. The Epicenter is gonna get cancelled by the Winter's Curse as well. So the Sand King gonna go down here as well. He actually manages to Burrow Strike in. The Nyx in a little bit of trouble. He's very far in the front lines. The Burning Army comes out with the Chain Frost now, and the Viper in a lot of trouble, and the Burning Army as well, just wrecking this fight.
double kill.
So 2 down from it's 2 for 2, but the Morphling survived. The Drow is just a attack speed or at this point. Morphling gonna chase down Winter Wyvern. I remember this. This was pretty disheartening. There's no way for me to get out of here. I could have maybe juked him a little bit, but he just waveformed on top of me and killed me. So monster kill now on the Morphling, and he's got his Skadi as well, I think. Not really sure. Oh, he's just going back for a Linken's. Yeah, I mean, the Drow doesn't really even do that much damage. It's all the Morphling show right now. Even the Clinks is getting a lot of work done as well. He's got boots of travel, so I actually really like this. If your team is winning really badly, you can always buy boots of travel to apply a split push pressure with the Clinks. Because you can always just strafe down a tower and get a lot of damage on. That's exactly what he's going to do here. We can't really commit resources to kill him. It's going to take a lot of heroes to take him out. The Morphling, he's getting pretty low, but he manages to waveform into the Roach Pit, and there's no vision from the side of Facebook to stop it. Leshrac not going for the blind stun. Very unfortunate. It would have been a huge kill if they managed to get it, because now he has Lincolns, and it's even harder now. $7k gold lead for FishingBoatV2. I actually thought we were way further behind the 7k gold at this point. I thought we were like 10k gold at least behind. But so, I guess the early game went a little bit better than we expected. So Leshrac gonna skip the pipe entirely and just go for an Ags. Maybe the Viper is gonna buy it instead. But Viper's also going for an Ags. We really needed a pipe this game, but it's I mean, it's tough. I don't think we had anyone who was going to be able to buy any time before this game is over. The Axe is really good on Lesh, but he doesn't have any tank ability. Like he has the hood, which is great against the Lich and the Sand King, but he doesn't have any armor. So maybe like a Shiva's Guard, maybe a bit better. Pick up like a casual plate mail. We do have the Warcry almost maxed out now, except he's gonna go for the level 15 talent, so it'll be a bit tougher. And Viper is pretty screwed. He's gonna Greaves himself, but the Crimson Guard comes out, isn't gonna be enough. Winter Weapon instantly goes down, godlike on the Morphling. The Blink Burrow Strike forward, and the Lesh is pretty screwed as well. It's gonna go down to one more marksmanship stop, 2 buybacks, Winter Weapon buys back, instantly dies again. That was really embarrassing. I TP'd right in front of the Morphling, and Viper's down with that buyback, and we need him to keep the team alive. And this game is looking pretty over. Lesh dies back as well, so it's just the Sven and the Nyx against the world. And the Sven is gonna get Storm Bolted. It's gonna be another Burrow Strike, but they won't even need it. So FishingBoatV2, they can take 2 racks at this point. It's going to be super difficult for us to come back from it now. They're going to go for the throne, so we call GG. So we kind of got fucked over by this Morphling super hard. And I guess like we did okay in the early game. Maybe a few questionable item builds could have made this game a little bit more possible. Maybe we could have put the Lesh in the safe lane instead of the Sven. And then had more of a utility Sven. I don't know, this game was pretty rough. I guess we did okay. We were like pretty even for the most part. It felt like we were really far behind. I remember playing this game and being like, oh fuck, we're so screwed the whole time. But I guess we did okay, but I don't know if doing okay in the laning phase is good enough. We had to completely stomp out this Drow, but the Lesh and the Nyx didn't really coordinate their stuns well. The Nyx would go for a stun, but then the Lesh's stun would already be on cooldown. And then there was like not much action at top. Only like 0 kills on the Nyx and 1 kill on the Lesh, which probably happened later as well. But yeah, that was a pretty tough game, I would say.